Have you ever looked at someone's life and thought, I wonder how they got there? Maybe it's a woman standing at an intersection, a man panhandling after a sporting event. Maybe it's that same child dropped off at school every day, hungry and disheveled. But what if our knee-jerk reaction is wrong? What if those things that we so quickly think and judge about others is actually not what we think? This is the Not That Different podcast, where we look at the stories behind the statistics. Because I believe when we really lean in and we really listen, we're going to find something surprising, that we're really not that different from people experiencing homelessness. In today's episode, I've got two of my favorite colleagues, Kevin and Jeff Hamilton, two brothers who work here in the ministry at the City Mission, but who've also been through this program. I'm ecstatic to share their stories with you, and we're going to jump right in. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi, how are you doing?
All right. Well, the way I want to just get started is just tell people who you are. So let's just introduce ourselves and what you do now at the mission.
Okay, my name is Kevin Hamilton, and I'm an RA at the Mission, and we man the booth at night. I work third shift, and I watch the buildings.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What does RA mean? Resident assistant.
Residence assistant. Mm-hmm.
Right? And so it's basically security, but so much more than that.
Yes, it is.
Right?
Yes.
And how long have you been doing that, Kevin?
May 1st would be 21 years I've been here at the Mission.
I can't believe it. I know. It's my anniversary, too.
Oh, wow.
All right. And Jeff?
My name is Jeff Hamilton. Started out as a resident assistant when I first started. I've been here now 7 years, but I now do custodial and maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
But every now and then I do go to Loris Home and I do RA activities there.
Yeah. So for our listeners who, again, maybe aren't that familiar with the City Mission, we're here in Cleveland. Today, right now, we're at our main campus where we serve, it's our administrative offices where we're actually at if you're watching this podcast. But we have a main campus in the Midtown area where we serve men. And then on the other side of Cleveland, we serve women and children. So both of these guys predominantly work at Crossroads Men's Crisis Center, right? But we all do whatever we're called to do, right? So, okay. Well, like I said, both of you work full time here. You're part of this ministry. I love getting to work with both of you, and both are in different capacities. But both of you have also been residents through our program. So we're going to start with you, Kevin, because you went through the program first.
I did.
So rewind for us. What year is it and what brought you to the mission? Kind of, give us all the details.
Okay. I was released from prison and was paroled here in 2002 of November. I had heard about the program and the mission through the county jail. Brent Richards, one of the chaplains here at the Mission, he was doing Bible studies there.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually was a part of his Bible study. He invited me to come here. I did do jail time, and he corresponded with me the whole time. And in 2002, I was paroled here, and that's where my journey started.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like? I can't imagine what it's like being released from prison. How long were you in prison?
5 years.
5 years. So it was, this wasn't just a small stint. 5 years is a long time.
Yeah.
And now it's time to go back out into the real world. And now you're still going to, be paroled now to a place with congregant living and rules. What were your feelings? Were you excited? Were you nervous? Were you?
Yeah. Actually, it's kind of unique in prison. Like when it rains, you can't go outside. You stay in the building. I was glad just to go out in the rain. Rain and certain things, when I went in, it was flip phones. And then I saw people with these smartphones and things. And I was like, wow, So I just was intrigued. But being in the Mission, I got saved in jail before I did my 5 years.
Okay.
And I was just looking for God. I was looking for the Lord. I was looking to stay off drugs and alcohol. I was looking for a new life. And in the program, I began to see how God was turning the page and he was opening new doors for Kevin.
Okay.
That's that's really what kept me, sustained me is in the program, it showed me different aspects of my life, the character, defects and things. I had an anger issue, and I
Which
took anger management at the Carby Stoke building through the program. And, it's just God kept opening doors to change my heart.
Yeah, that's such a testament of what the Lord does, because anyone who knows Kevin would not think there's a person with an anger problem. Like I don't think I've ever seen Kevin not smiling, to be honest. And so that's a testimony of what God has done in your life.
Yeah.
So what was the program? How long were you here at the mission?
I was here 8.5 months.
Okay. And then when you graduated, what did you move on to do, or where did you move?
Well, I met a man here. He was my counselor, and he ran some sober houses here on the near East Side on 55th and Superior, and he asked me did I want to come there after the program, and actually I didn't. I didn't go straight over there. I went downtown to Luther Protestant Ministry to 2100 Lakeside, and I did their program. And I stayed there 6 months. So I did 8.5 here, stayed there 6 months. Then I moved over to Emmanuel Promise of Hope, where I'm over at now, after the 6 months. And that's where my journey began over there.
Okay. Tell us about Emmanuel Promise of Hope.
It's a sober living. Me and my wife oversee it. They've been existing for over 30 years. They got started through Emmanuel Christian Center. The late Bishop Marbury founded it in 12, and they had me interview me about becoming the president, and I run it to this day. And
I love
we have
that.
15 beds, and we get most of our men from the Crossroad program.
That's what I was just going to ask. I never knew exactly how many beds. So 15 beds.
15 beds.
And the vast majority are graduates from this program. So it's like, it's almost exactly what you did. You went from one program to another. Would you say you just knew you still needed kind of the stability of groups and things like that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When you graduate the program, you want to make sure that, I always say it's good to be sober, but it's better to stay sober.
Yes.
And so I want to stay sober. Even to this day, I'm still working the program. Program never leaves you. It's ongoing. The program is what God speaks in His Word to us. So that's what we do. It's like an aftercare. So some men stay there a year, some leave in 6 months. If you want to stay 3 years, I don't mind. If you feel like you're ready to go, that's what we do at Emmanuel. And it's directly connected to what we do here.
I love that. So it's a tertiary program to what we're doing here.
And all of it, yeah.
And I just love, Kevin, that I'm sure that in and of itself is a full-time job. And what you're doing here is a full-time job.
Yes.
You're a pastor. Let's give a shout out to your church as well.
Yeah, Grace Temple. It's not far from here. And, over a year and a half ago, my cousin was the pastor, and he moved to Columbus, and he asked me and my wife, what we think about pastoring there? And I said, wow, I had been in Euclid at my church for 21 years as associate pastor, and Jeff brought me to that church. So, it was just a connection. And I actually grew up at Grace. So my mom and dad, everybody was there. So when we took it on, me and my wife, we didn't know what to expect, but God just continued to open doors and do things, Jamie, that we know that God does.
I just think it's amazing when you really think about it in just the plain terms of how God brought you to this neighborhood, and really what's still going on in your heart and in this neighborhood, only through the transforming power of God's love and your obedience to Him is amazing. Just look at those ripple effects, and that will still happen for many years to come. Thanks for being willing to share a bit of your story and, to keep the ministry going here. A lot of people would probably say, a lot of people would probably question what keeps you wanting to do the night shift when you've got all these other things going on, Kevin. So tell us what a night shift looks like for you.
I feel like in the Bible, Jesus came to Nicodemus at night, and I feel like that it's a calling. God has called me even to the shift. Some people call the first shift second shift. I feel like my calling is third shift. How do I know that and believe that? I wake the men up, And to me, that's the first impression. If you're on the street and you come into our doors, is how you wake a guy up. I don't, aggressive or none of that. I'm very patient. I give him a scripture. I go over the intercom. I wake him up with a good morning. This is going to be a blessed day. It's going to be a blessed day in the program. God got a plan, and I give him all of that. But that to me is why I stay on third, because God has blessed me to be able to relate on the third shift.
I love that. Do you have any stories that you could share of maybe anybody who's needed something in the middle of the night? I'm guessing that happens often.
Absolutely. Even to talk, therapeutic stuff. Some guy may get up, can't sleep. Family members right there, or something going on, even battling with addiction or whatever he was battling with. They'll come down and ask for prayer. You can never, prayer is the key. So I always pray with guys. I prayed recently with a guy. He came down at 2 a.m. and said, "Hey, Pastor, I just need prayer." And I did. I prayed with him. He got up the next morning and said, "That was like taking medicine. I feel better." So, and you never know when God's going to open the door, even in the middle of the night, for him to use you. Because that's what we do. We're the body of Christ. We're here to be used. So
awesome. Well, now we're going to turn and talk to your brother a little bit. What I love about both of you is, one, I love that your brothers both here ministering together on different shifts, although Jeff is known to work 24 hours a day around here as well. But before I do, Jeff, what were you doing when your brother was in prison or here at the mission? Because you were close by. You guys were raised not too far from here. So where were you kind of in the midst of Kevin's story during
when he got released from prison? I was living in Willowick.
Okay.
I was living out there. I was married, living out there in Willowick. And then we found out he got out of prison. So how he got introduced to Living Waters Church of God is me and my wife, we used to go there. And then we started taking him there. And then that's how I couldn't understand when I used to pick him up about he said, "I can't work yet." Me being a workaholic, I can understand that.
Yeah.
Why can't you work?
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't until me going through the program myself that the mission wants you to concentrate on you before anything else.
Yeah.
And your relationship with Christ.
Yeah.
That's more important than anything. And they want you to do that first. So when you used to tell me that, I'd be like, "How come you can't work?" But now I understand why.
Yeah.
I understand the whole concept of why they don't want you to work when you first get here.
Yeah.
I understand that.
So your brother was encouraging you when you were in this time, you newly saved-ish, right, in prison and starting to figure out what life outside of prison looks like. Your brother's walking alongside you. And then kind of the story kind of flipped a little, right?
It did flip a lot.
Yeah, it flipped. I mean, we're going to get to it, but yeah, the story flipped quite a bit. And so now let's start where your story is. To get us to the year, so we're kind of understanding, Jeff, and tell us a little bit about your story. What brought you to the City Mission as a resident, as a participant?
What brought me to the City Mission as the resident is Kevin had been out, and then I got in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So I was downtown in the county jail. I was down there facing 163 years.
163 years. That, I mean,
That's
I don't even know. I can't even fathom. I mean, I can't fathom getting in that much trouble, but let's set that aside. Like how heavy that must feel.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you deserve punishment, 163 years, I can't imagine what that feels like walking into a courtroom, and if we miss, the symbolism there about like what Christ does for us and the heaviness that we carry. I mean, just 163 years. So that's a big weight.
Yes.
You're facing that in prison. What happens?
Then I the whole time I was there, I gave my life back to Christ, and I would pray every day. And Kevin got involved, and he on my court date, he went and talked to the judge for me. And the judge said in the courtroom, he mentioned Kevin's name and my wife at the time, and he sentenced me to the City Mission because of what he knew about Kevin's story and what he went through and how the success story that he had from being in this program. And the judge really wanted the same for me. So at my brother's direction, they sends me here and brought me here in cuffs and shackles. They dropped me out with the front door on the deputy sheriff's van.
Okay.
That's how I started the program.
Wow. Talk to me. What did you think about being here? I mean, you've seen it through the eyes of your brother. You probably had some judgy thoughts even then. I think you kind of alluded to it. What do you mean you can't work? What are you doing there? What did you think now that it's your position and the story has flipped and you're a resident at the mission?
Now that I was a resident, he was still an RA. He was working.
So by then you were working here.
He was working there.
Okay.
And I really didn't know what to expect. I stepped into a place where he had been. So I'm looking at him like, if it can be did for him here, it can be done for me also.
Yeah.
And that was my expectation, but I was still kind of fearful of what I had to do. There was a lot of rules and regulations, and you can't work. And me being a workaholic, I was wanting to get out and get at it, but
yeah,
they wouldn't let me do that.
How long did you actually serve in prison, Jeff?
I did 13 years in prison.
13 years. Yeah. So again, a good long time. And what's it like? What's it like to be dropped off? You said it, in shackles here, and all of a sudden you're free. But yeah, you are part of this program. I mean, is there anxiety? I mean, are you screaming hallelujah, I'm free? Or what is that like?
I wasn't screaming hallelujah, I'm free. I was like, Jesus, where am I?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of what I figured.
Because you're working society for so long.
Right.
Like Kevin said, the first thing that threw me was the phones. When I went in, they had just started camera phones. And then when I get out, I see a guy walking up the street talking, and I don't see a phone or nothing. I was like, wow, what have I got on? He was talking on his Bluetooth.
I never thought about that. It was like the Jetsons come to life.
Yeah. So once I came here and got into the program, I worked in the kitchen for a while. Then I got a job, and then I seen me being a workaholic could really, really, really could further damage me, because I'm I am addicted to working.
Yeah.
And everybody knows it. Kevin knows it. People here know it. But and I did learn to put Christ ahead of everything that I do here. And Dale Glicker told me once, he said, Jeff, I know you're a workaholic, but you've got to learn to put Christ ahead of that. If you don't, you're going to be in trouble again.
Yeah.
So, and I always remember that, right to this day, I remember that.
And so what does that mean for you, Jeff? Like how did that change you? Like,
it changed me in a way that now, even though I do still work a lot, but Christ comes first. God comes first. And the mission that he has us, me and my brother and staff here, for the men, women, and children, the mission that he has, that comes first.
Yeah.
Above anything else. And I've learned to stay in my lane. Even though I still work a lot, I've learned to stay in my lane. I have to.
Yeah.
It's like put brakes on me.
I love that. Tell me about some sort of opportunity that you've had here. Is there an individual that stands out, and we don't need to use their full name or anything like that, but that you've gotten to rub shoulders with, and either of you can answer this, and that has brought you just, yeah, that's why I'm here. What encourages you in your work? If that's a person, if that's a thing that you're doing daily, a powerful story of somebody that you're working with. I don't
know. Philip, he works here, and Cecil works here, and they live down where I'm at.
Okay.
But just to see them doing good, when you see a person doing, way better than when they came, you start to see the transformation. That's the awesome thing of being RA. We get to see the transformation, see them come from this to that. And it's just, I can name a couple, of guys that you just see the transformation after 3-4 months. You start to see them starting to get it. And that's what encourages me. That's what keeps us going is to see the work of the cross just being done, being displayed.
Yeah. How about you, Jeff? Anything?
One of the times I remember was when I was already doing my security checker in the warehouse. Coming out of the warehouse, that was when we had the donation box. It was guy hanging out the donation box, and his feet were just hanging out. So I go over to the donation box and ask him what is he doing here, and he got real belligerent. Leave me alone. I just want some clothes and this and that. So I started talking to him, and the more I talked to him, the more I realized that all he really did want was some clothes and something to eat.
Mhm.
And once I realized that, he came up and hugged me, and he said, "Man, I just want some clothes and something to eat. I went anywhere else. It was cold. I got him a hat, gloves, a coat, and I went into the kitchen and got him something to eat." And he cried on the way out the driveway, and I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
That's all he wanted. I tried to get him to stay, but he had other things he wanted to do. So just being there for that moment for him.
Mhm.
And it's just like that. Anybody here, we do devotionals Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. My day is Wednesday tomorrow morning, and I get a joy out of spreading God's message to the guys and them being encouraged by it. And then they look at us here, me and Kevin and other people that have been to the program here, and I really want them to see if that we can do it, you can do it too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's the goal, for them to know that, that Christ can change lives, and he does.
Is that something you think about like daily? Like you
Yes.
see your story in other people's?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because I always say if he can do it for me, he can do it for anybody.
hmm
My life has so much changed. If you knew the old person and the old me versus what you see today,
hmm
it's like night and day, the way God, he changed us.
Absolutely.
hmm
Anything else? Anything? What would you? I'm trying to ask the people who work here, especially while we talk, is what is it that you would want people to know and understand about? Well, I guess it's you and the people that we serve, right? Like we say this is that not that different podcast. How would you want to pull back a layer and say we're not that different?
Well, we are different. For me, I'm familiar with a lot of the shelters in Cleveland.
hmm
And to me, if I would pick, this would be the best one.
Yes.
And that would be, and not to down them, they do a great work as well. But for me, it would be all these years I passed here. And they call it the best kept secret in Cleveland,
Yeah.
the City Mission Crossroads. But I passed here, and all the help I needed was here. And it's amazing because God, he works through stuff, and he worked through Crossroads. He worked through the mission to
hmm
get me to the place where I need to be in relationship with him. And that's just, to me, that's, that's why we do what we do.
Yeah.
hmm
It's not that different for me, because I do see myself in a lot of the guys here. When they come to the door, I know what I went through. I was a drug addict on the street, didn't have anything. Kevin pulled me up. I didn't have anything. And with Christ and God in my life, and when he brought me to the mission, I mean, it was just a blessing. So now, being on this side, when people do come to the front door, a lot of times, sometimes I'm in tears, and they don't even know it, because I see myself.
Yeah.
Because that's how I used to be. So you can't help but lend a helping hand to try to help them out of it too. You can't help but do that. But now I'm married. I just bought a house. I have a dog named Coco.
You love that dog.
So that all that is part of me being transformed here at the mission. And it does work.
Absolutely.
It does work.
Is there anything you would want to say to people who just, maybe look at the work we're doing here and say, that's for people who are lazy, or that's for people who will never amount to anything? What would you like to say to those people?
Sometimes, unless you've been through it, sometimes you can't, you can't relate. Sometimes if you've never been homeless or on the street or something like that, and then sometimes you don't have to be, because I always say, this may not make sense to a lot of people, but we're all homeless till we get to heaven, because
hmm
heaven is home. And I just want to encourage that we get Jesus here, and we get Christ, and when you get him, you get everything.
hmm
That's right.
I love that. We're all homeless. Heaven is home. Anything else you want to add?
For people that don't understand what we do and why we do it, well, we do it because of Christ, because it's our calling. but we also do it because some people see us as, wow, they're all down there with those homeless people and people coming in and everything's going on, but we love what we do. You know what I mean? And if they could just see that this is well worth it, with the people that come out of here, the women and children, the men that come out of here through this program, all this is worth it. And you never know. One day you could end up homeless. I seen a college professor here when I was RA. He was a college professor. I noticed him in the day room. He was carrying his book bag around, and I was like, he's different. I found out he was a college professor. He had got into some things going on with his home, and he just needed to stay until he got things back together. And he still went to work down to the college.
Wow.
So that could be anybody at any moment could end up homeless.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's really the whole point of this podcast. It's the whole point of my heart, is just to really be able to peel back those layers and help people understand that really, at the end of the day, we're not that different. We're all humans created in God's image, right, and we all just have a different journey. And so thank you for both just being so willing to share your story and to help, this be more relatable for people. Yes, thank you. Absolutely. Thanks for joining us for the Not That Different podcast. If this resonates with you and makes your heart beat fast, then we would encourage you, if you're in this Cleveland, Ohio area, look us up at thecitymission.org. But if you're not local, find a shelter, find a place nearby where you can get involved and help people. We hope that this inspires you to get involved, to give, to become an advocate for people who are experiencing homelessness. Again, check us out at thecitymission.org, or you can email us directly at connect@thecitymission.org, and like and subscribe. Share this podcast. Thanks for listening.